So Paul, obviously we should keep the tip of the sensor wet.
Yes.
What about the plumbing setup and other things that could affect that?
Okay. Your plumbing setup, in this case, this is a Lakewood plumbing assembly. The sensor is inserted with the glass pointed down, but this plumbing assembly should be in your system such that it's like a P-trap where it stays wet at all times. So even when you shut down the system, there will be water in the piping to keep the probe wet.
Now, did you say we want to keep the end of the probe wet?
Yes.
Okay,
I
good.
did say you want to keep the end of this probe wet.
Okay.
The pH and ORP sensors got to stay wet all the time.
Okay.
Otherwise, it will drastically shorten the life of those probes.
And for people maybe in the more northern climates who may shut down a cooling tower for the winter, what kind of things do they have to worry about?
Well, the pH and ORP sensors are made of glass, which means that they can freeze and break in the wintertime. So if you're going to shut down the system during the winter months, you should pull the sensor and bring it indoors to keep it from freezing.
And maybe put a cap on the end of the sensor so it stays wet.
Always, it's shipped with a cap. You should always keep that sensor wet. You should always use electrode storage solution, or if you don't have that, you can use a pH 4 buffer solution.
Now, you said that pH sensors can be fouled, so they can accumulate, scaling and all kinds of other things too, right?
Scale or biologicals will foul them, so you have to keep them clean.
And I see you got a wire brush there, so you should take that and go at it, right?
No, sir. This is the one thing you should not use on pH and ORP glasses. Do not scrub on that glass. You will damage them and really drastically shorten them, shorten the life expectancy of those sensors, or actually break them and kill them. We do recommend that you use isopropyl alcohol to kill films or to remove films, and you can use an acid solution a dilute acid solution to clean the probes.
When you say dilute, you're talking like 10% or what are you
10%
talking about?
hydrochloric would be perfect.
Great.
You can also use a Q-tip to clean around the reference junction on the inside and around the glass itself. You want to use the minimum amount of scrubbing on that glass as possible. Do not use rags because rags inherently have oils. You can use a paper towel, a clean paper towel, but use a dabbing type instead of a rubbing motion on these.
Again, so you don't scratch the glass.
That's correct.
Okay.
We may have mentioned that these electrodes are made of glass. Well, that means that there's a maximum pressure limit on these glass electrodes. It's typically in the range of 100 to 150 psi, and you go above that and the glass can break and the sensor won't work. They also have a high temperature limit. Even though we talked about winter months where freezing is the limit, they can go up to typically about 212 degrees Fahrenheit, but the sensor body may not be able to handle that. So you need to check and make sure which sensor you have, whether it's a stainless steel, CPVC, or PVDF, and that has a specific temperature rating for that also.
Sometimes cooling towers, even in the sample lines, have debris. Talk briefly about debris. What does that do to a pH or an ORP sensor?
Absolutely. That pH that debris will impact on that glass bulb and cause problems. It can damage it or break it or even remove the coating that's on that glass. We highly recommend that you use a strainer upstream of pH or ORP sensors, and don't forget to flush that strainer periodically.
If you're worried about oil being, like a surface of the sensor getting full of oil, is IPA or isopropyl alcohol, is that still the right thing to use to clean it up?
Yes, it is. Well, we use a 99% or 91% will work just fine to clean those foams off. Now remember, you still have to remove the source of those oils, or as soon as you put it back in the system, it's going to coat that probe and affect the reading. These sensor tips are designed to be in direct contact with the water, and if they have any kind of a coating on the glass or reference junction or solution ground, they will cause the reading to either be high or low or not respond at all, have very limited response.
Okay, great. So I think to summarize, really, it's fairly simple. Keep the tips wet, keep them clean. If you need to clean it, use isopropyl alcohol or a very dilute HCl. And don't scrub them with a wire brush. Use a Q-tip or a paper towel, and that's probably going to be your best bet.
That's correct. One other thing to bring up is the O-rings. The O-rings provide the seal in your plumbing system. So we recommend that you use a silicone O-lube to make them slide in and out of your plumbing assembly nice and easy. Don't use Vaseline because the petroleum-based products will cause these O-rings to swell up, and then you won't be able to fit them into your plumbing assembly.
Perfect. And one question we get from time to time is somebody who is in the field, they're going to pull a sensor out and they want to store it, they want to keep it, and so they have a cap. and they don't have any storage solution. So should they use DI water?
Oh, absolutely not.
Why not?
The DI will actually leach the chemicals out of the probe itself, and it will kill it. So you don't want to use DI water or distilled water. Too pure water will actually kill it quickly.